Okay, we're a little late tonight, but we're going to call this meeting of the Temecula City Council to order. That was the cast of the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. Congratulations on a great presentation. So we usually start our meeting off with an invocation. Pastor William Wrench of Calvary Baptist Church. Pastor, you're no foreigner to these council chambers nor to the Temecula Valley. Please come on up. And then I'm going to ask you to stand for that invocation, but remain standing because we're going to have a special guest, Emily Schwank. Emily, where are you? There you are. You're going to give the flag salute tonight. All righty. Please stand with me.
All right, let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we come before your presence tonight in this meeting and ask your blessing on the proceedings. We pray for all of our council members, and we thank you for the great work that they do on our behalf. We thank you for the city that we are blessed to be able to live in, the things that we enjoy. And Father, we ask now that as the matters of business and concerns of people come before the attention of the council tonight, that you'd give guidance, wisdom, direction to all involved. And we pray that the decisions that are made and the input that is given would be productive and helpful to the furtherance of the good things of our city and of our communities and our homes. We ask your blessing on all that's done tonight, and we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Pastor, how long have you been serving in the community?
32 years.
32 years. We want to thank you for your service. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Emily, come on down. All right.
Thank you. Would you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. God bless you. You may be seated. Let's see here. Madam City Clerk, I have some distinguished members on the dais up here with me. Would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Edwards. Here. Councilmember Ron.
I'm here.
Councilmember Schwank.
Here.
Councilmember Stewart.
Here.
Mayor Nagar.
Mayor is in the house. I usually like to recognize our high school students who are here for government, but I know spring break has started, but I see some young people. Okay, so where are the Golden Bears? We got Golden Bears in the house? Okay, Wolfpack? Oh, Wolfpack. Okay, Pumas? All right. Okay, are any Murrieta youngsters here? Oh! Okay. You come over here to see a Temecula City Council meeting for your government class. That'll get you a free snow cone, okay? All right, there you go. See the city clerk, okay, before you leave. All right.
They wanted to see how the meetings are really run. Yeah.
Oh.
Nope, you young folks are welcome here anytime in our council chambers. Okay, this is the time for, before you leave, just see the city clerk. She's got your Bahama Bucks coupons. And Bahama Bucks, I have to say, is a great supporter of our local youth. Presentations and proclamations. We have a presentation from Animal Friends of the Valley's Executive Director, Trent, and Chief Animal Control Officer Middleton. Do we have, come on up. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody.
If you can pull that microphone a little closer to you. There's it perfectly.
All good now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. As you'd expect from a Animal Friends of the Valley team, we are going to do a dog and pony for you tonight. So Chief Officer Middleton will answer all the difficult questions. Please direct them in that area. And we're going to run through a presentation which is intended to highlight to the council the problem, the ever-increasing problem of homeless animals and the increasing population, and how we think steps could be taken to try and control that. So with no further ado, if I can work out how this starts. Look at that, magic. This is basically a very short presentation, about 10 minutes, so nobody needs to go to sleep. We'll move along very swiftly. There are no, in the area of the JPA, which is the area of 6 cities that we operate in, and we have contracts with each individual city to provide animal services under the auspices of Chief Middleton. There are no laws requiring the microchipping or the sterilization of pets. So the result is, in many cases, some of these breeders, what we call hobby breeders or backyard breeders that are producing copious amounts of puppies and kittens every year. An individual in our jurisdiction can own 4 female dogs, and on an average, 4 females would have a litter of 8 puppies each year. And because we're in California and the warmer climes, they can breed twice a year. So they could essentially add 64 new puppies, new dogs, to the population each year, to an already overpopulated pet population. So current laws, we can't do anything about that. All we are is on the receiving end, taking the animals in when they're dropped off at the shelter. So pets without microchips have an impossible job to try and get reunited. The animals come in, we have no idea where they come from. They spend time at the shelter at the cost of the city until such times as they become our property after 5 or 10 days, depending on whether identified when they come in. So the problem is there's too many animals and not enough homes from our perspective. This was the intake numbers for Temecula. We took in 355 stray dogs from this area, this city, and 203 cats. And we were able to reunite 238 animals to their owners for dogs, which is a good number, given the other 5 cities in the area. Cats, we were able to reunite 14 of that 203. So who made it home? Those are the percentages. 67% of dogs and only barely 7% of cats managed to get home. It's expensive to get your pet out of a shelter. It can cost upwards of $400 to get a pet from a shelter if it's not microchipped, licensed, or vaccinated when the owners are identified and they come into us. Collars and tags fall off. Kids play with the animals, they take them off. The majority of dogs coming into shelters with collars on don't actually have the tags. They might have a collar, and sometimes a very brightly coloured collar, but they don't have any tag to show us where the animal comes from. If your pet is found deceased, and that happens all too often on our busy roads here in the area, it can still be scanned if it had a chip, so we could provide some closure to the family that is lamenting the loss of their pet, not knowing quite where it went to. Proof of ownership, pet theft and flipping of pets is very common. It's a burgeoning issue in our area. And of course, an emergency veterinary clinic will often refuse service on certain surgical cases if they don't have the consent of an owner. We do have a spay and neuter clinic in Lake Elsinore, and we do provide a microchipping service for low-income folk. And last year, we microchipped 2,383 animals. That was an increase of 6.8% from the previous year. So we are doing our part in having animals microchipped. In Temecula, of that total number, there were 14.2% of the animals. These are the issues we're dealing with: backyard breeders, unregulated breeders, the owners of the oops litters we hear too often. We didn't know they were old enough to breed. It got out. The gardener left the door open, the gate open, all these sorts of excuses. If we could try and do more on sterilization, it would reduce the aggression in male dogs that we often find, the stray dogs that are out there that are looking for female dogs and can become aggressive when they're confronted by the public. It also has a control on male diseases and also the diseases that typically affect female dogs if they're not neutered. And often that is, for example, mammary tumors. If we were, this is a picture here of, this is a litter of puppies. This is very typical. We have a night drop at the shelter. It's open 24/7. Folk can drop off their animals. There's no accountability. They could do it under the cover of darkness, if you like. And this is the sort of situations left to us. 6 very, very ill puppies. These dogs have got mange, which is a zoonotic disease. It's transmittable to humans. Very, very difficult for us to treat. And this is very common of the sorts of litters that are left in our shelter. So a lot of text on this, so I'll run through very quickly. These are the common issues we're dealing with when you have unregulated breeding. You have unwanted and unhealthy litters that are dumped at our shelter. Don't forget, this is a cost to the city, because when they come into the shelter doors and they're unclaimed and they're strays, they become a liability in those first 5 days for the public, for the city coffers, the budget. Lack of proper care and quality food and all the essentials to humane treatment of animals are missing in the unregulated breeding. There's a whole, I'm not going to go through these, you can read them for yourself. I hate it when people give a PowerPoint presentation and read every line off, so I'm going to skip that, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind. But essentially, breeding of animals, the main concern as well is that it breeds aggressive tendencies, because often in a hoarding situation, and the chief can tell you about homes she goes to with 20, 30 and 40 animals, all breeding and often related. So you've got brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers breeding with each other. So if there's any genetic issue there, for example, behavioral tendency to violence or aggression, that is magnified once it goes through the genetic line. In 2006, Riverside boldly went where no dog has gone before and adopted this policy. It was a municipal code, spay, neutering and microchipping. They made it mandatory. It reduced the numbers of stray animals almost overnight. So what we're looking to do is to try and encourage the 6 cities that we service to look at the Riverside County ordinance, compare it or look at it with the staff at the city to see would it work for us, and see if we can communicate the need for that to the individual cities. Now, Menifee jumped straight into this. On January the 1st, they promulgated their first ordinance. They gave a 90-day grace period, and they allowed everybody to be aware, and we notified everybody through mail and through Facebook and through websites and everything else. But they were the first out of the block. As we speak tonight, Lake Elsinore, it has its second reading of this ordinance, and they will pass it tonight. Canyon Lake does so next week. Wildemar has asked, I don't like to quote these other cities, this is like bad words, I know. They're not quite 4-letter, but they're getting there, right? So I can say Wildemar, and they will be promulgating that as well. So Murrieta is the holdout, maybe last, but we're hopeful that Temecula will take this information and look at a resolution, or at least a forward motion that we can submit to you, the language or the draft text of the proposal, and look at how Riverside's done it, how Menifee and how these other cities have done it, and see whether it would work for Temecula. And I hope that the council will give serious consideration to this. Bottom line, from our perspective as a humane organisation, it will stop the overload of unwanted animals being deposited at our shelter with sometimes, health issues and not a good prognosis. But it will also reduce cost. It will stop the numbers of animals coming into the shelter, therefore reduce the financial burden for the Temecula city. That's it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for a compelling presentation. I have a quick question for you. At what age do you recommend the chipping and the spay or neutering?
This was the difficult one. I would tell you 4 months, but I could be wrong.
No, you're absolutely correct.
Oh,
Yeah, we recommend spaying and neutering anytime after 4 months. It's the same time that they get their rabies shot, and then they can be, actually, spay and neuter can happen before the 4 months, but they get a rabies shot at 4 months, that's when they would license. That's when they would need to be spayed and neutered and have the microchip. It reduces the cost of the licensing, so they get what's called an altered price. And then the microchipping, of course, again, This whole presentation is to bring responsibility to our dog owners and our cat owners and our bunny owners, because that's where the ordinance is touching those animals. With responsibility, you know, this ordinance doesn't affect a responsible dog owner. They've already spayed and neutered, they've already microchipped, they've already been responsible. But it's the unresponsible ones that we want to bring in here with this ordinance. And by doing that, we again, lower the population of the unwanted animals. And most of this deals with the unwanted animals. Those are the ones that stay at the shelter. Those are the ones that then follow in the animal friends to get adopted out. Microchipping for animal control is a must. When we're out on the streets, if we pick up an animal, my officers all have scanners on board. So every city that we serve, my officers scan the animal in the field when they pick it up. If it has a microchip, we're able to call, find out who they are, and possibly get that dog off my truck before it ever comes to the shelter, before it becomes a burden to the city. So if we can get that animal home, there'll be a fine. A $40 fine usually is what the fine is for being caught on the street. But they're not coming to the shelter and having that reoccurring boarding fee and all that stuff. So responsibility for that owner actually will help them by microchipping. It also brings that person in that their animal has been hit by a car, it's deceased. We can help them bring closure. That's a biggie, and a lot of people don't even want to think about that, but I make those phone calls, and they're very important to me to give that owner closure. So it's usually about 4 months old is when we want to make sure that they're already spayed by that time, and the microchip is in by the time we do their licensing.
Great, thank you very much. Mr. Sidney, oh, we have a question. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
just a quick question.
Yeah.
So you talked about irresponsible pet owners. That's who you're basically going to go after. So how do you go after them? I mean, if they're not coming in for a city license or something like that, do you drive around? Or I'm kind of confused how this is going to be implemented.
Well, there's going to be multiple ways, and to be honest with you, we're still working on it. But what it'll do right now is every animal that's found on the street that is not microchipped, when they come to pick it up at the shelter, it'll have to be spayed or neutered and microchipped prior to leaving. Okay, so that puts them in kind of in the database. Also, we receive lots of calls for simple things like barking dogs. So if I knock on your door and you have a barking dog and you're not in my database, I'd be able at that time to give you a fixable, correctable citation for your licensing and give you that time to get your animal spayed or neutered and get it microchipped. Our goal is not to go out and harass the public. We don't want to go out there and harass them and cite everybody that we show up at their house. We want to give them that time. As a matter of fact, the animal control right now, we have what's called the Wallace voucher. It's just for animal control officers. So my officers goes to a house, and actually in Temecula, we just passed out 2 of them today. If they can't afford getting their animal spayed or neutered, we're giving them a voucher to get it done for free. So this is how we knock on doors. We simply go there because the dog had been barking too much. So we're able to help them at that time. And then we offer $20 microchips at the shelter, which is low cost. Veterinarians charge a little bit more, but we charge a flat rate of $20 to microchip. So we can give them that information when we're at the home and get them in. So being called to, we were at the dog park today in the city of Temecula. So we were able to pass out licensing information. There was 8 dogs at the dog park, only 1 of them were licensed. So that's how we catch them. I don't mean catch them, I don't want to be mean. That's how we found them.
So you did a sting operation.
Right.
It was just a little bee sting.
If I could also add, there's nothing absolutely stopping any of the cities, and indeed us, developing some canvassing opportunities where we would simply knock on the door in certain areas and remind the people first time, you know, is your animal spayed and neutered, is it microchipped, and give them a grace period to get that done. So we're finding other cities have found the canvassing route to be quite successful.
Got it. Again, thank you. If there's no other questions, I don't see that there is, for a compelling presentation. Mr. City Manager, I understand you wish to consider something like this for the city. So please take it internally, do what you do, and at your discretion, bring it back to the City Council. All right? Is that good for you?
Thank you, sir. Absolutely.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Madam City Clerk, now's the time for public comments. Do we have any requests to speak?
Mr. Mayor, we do not have public comments on general non-agendized items. We do have 2 public comments on consent calendar item number 16, if you would like to take those now.
Okay, 2 requests to speak on number 16. Okay, let's go ahead. Do we have a video to play for the rules?
I believe we do.
All right, let's hear the rules.
A total of 30 minutes is provided for members of the public to address the City Council on items that appear within the consent calendar or a matter not listed on the agenda. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. If the speaker chooses to address the City Council on an item listed on the consent calendar or a matter not listed on the agenda, a request to speak form may be filed out and filed with the City Clerk prior to the City Council addressing public comments and the consent calendar. Once the speaker is called to speak, please come forward. For all public hearing or council business items on the agenda, a request to speak form may be filed with the City Clerk prior to City Council addressing that item. On those items, each speaker is limited to 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Madam City Clerk, can you call the first speaker?
The first speaker on item number 16 is Pam Tano, to be followed by our last speaker, Stephen Snow.
Thank you.
Sure, Stephen Snow and then Pam Tano.
Good evening, Mr. Snow.
Hi, how are you, sir?
Very well. Yeah, thank you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to kind of give a little narrative of how I got involved with the Leifer Road situation out here in northern Temecula. I'm a real estate agent, and I was asked to come and take a listing for 2.5 acres. So I went over there, and it was Gil and Linda Bodwin. Linda worked for the city for about 7 years in the planning department, and she said, well, they're great properties. We got them graded, put wells on them, did perk tests, but we can't build on them. So what do you think they're worth? I said, gosh, what are you talking about? She said, no, you can't build on them. I said, well, it's got to be a snafu. So I came down here, talked to one of the gentlemen in the planning, the desk, and he said, no, that's the law, that's it. So I said, okay, let me go do some homework. And I went and did a little homework, and I came back and I met with a different gentleman at the planning desk. He said, that's the way it is. Here's the rules. And I said, well, if it were you, how can we change it so that 10 vacant landowners who own 13 parcels can build on their property? He said, I'd go straight to the top. So, okay, who's that? He said, well, that's the city manager. So I got an appointment with Greg Butler, very nice man. Everybody here is great. I've never had a problem with anybody. Everybody's courteous. And he said, well, yeah, that's a problem. And he said, but you can send out letters and see what people think. If everybody wants to, put together a grassroots movement and elect to do this. I said, well, they tried that once before in '09 at the bottom of the recession to charge everybody $4 or $5 grand a year for taxes for 10 years to pave the roads, and everybody said, forget it. So anyway, we sent out letters, and we got back half of them. And out of the half, 21 were for it, for creating a district for all-weather roads only, no pavement. I asked Greg one time, I said, what was the pavement? Where did that come in at? He said, well, the city opted for that. They didn't have to, but they wanted to have pavement. I said, so the city wanted somebody to pay for the roads out to the property. I said, yeah, that's pretty much it. I said, well, that sounds like could be some kind of a liability for the city or something here, He said, no, I run it by the city attorney, and he says we're okay. We're in good shape. So, okay. So I've been, in 1977 when I came out here, Ruth Clark and her husband bought 2 properties out there. So for 40 years, she's been writing 2 checks for 2 properties, 160 tax checks, and cannot build on her property. She's 89, husband's gone, a long time ago. And the other people that have homes out there already, most of them are queasy about taking on new responsibilities. Some claim, as Greg said, that it would be a hardship on them.
Mr. Snow?
Yes.
Much to my chagrin, the rule is 3 minutes,
No
and I hate to cut you off.
Very good,
But
sir.
that is the rule. Now, I understand you're working with Greg Butler and the city manager. I can assure you the city council's being kept abreast.
Okay.
And because it's not on the agenda, we just can't get into dialogue about it.
Thank you for letting me
But
speak.
I want to thank you for coming tonight, okay?
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, very welcome. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker and the final speaker is Pam Tano.
Ms. Tano, good evening to you.
Thank you for having me here. I'm always glad to be involved in government. I'm here on an issue of typographical errors. That's really what I'm here for. Unfortunately, I'm up to about 330. Some of them are more important than others. Tonight, the important one is the name of the tax assessment that you're going to be voting on tonight, which is correctly called Tax Assessment Service Level R. It's a Temecula road maintenance for $115 a year per parcel, another for undeveloped parcels. It's not called an emergency road repair. It never was, it never has been. It is called installation, construction, and maintenance, as formed in the original tax levy. I have the original tax levy here as signed by Temecula. I asked the public records for any updates that would change this document or supersede it. There are none. So anything that we're referring to it in any other way is just fictitious. So tonight, I beg you to at least review it and delay the vote until we can correct these typographical errors that could have a significant effect on the vote. Another one of the errors is on tickets. In order to submit a request for a hearing, you have to submit it to an erroneous address that is returned to sender address unknown. I'm pointing out these for the aid of the city to help you. I know that we all want to be very accurate. We don't want to have misinformation, especially when you're voting. Again, go back to the original documents. Many things the city council and representatives have told me turn out to be erroneous. I'd like to see the actual documents that verify anything that you're telling us is true, if it be whether we call a road public or private, or whether we call it an emergency repair fund, or we call it an installation, construction, and maintenance. I've been pulling these documents for quite a while, so you might imagine I have the answers to these questions. I hope you will look into it. Thank you very much.
Ms. Tano, thanks
Does
for
anybody have
coming.
any questions?
And like I told Mr. Snow, if you'd continue to work with Mr. Butler and Mr. Aaron Adams.
We've reached a stalemate.
I understand. That's your source to go through, and I do appreciate that.
Well, I
And,
guess then the following thing to do would be
Ms.
a
Tano.
council would have to be represented for us to go to court for public records documents violations.
Thank you very much, understand. And just for the record, and Mr. Thorson, you can confirm for me, we're merely extending a state of emergency for damaged roads, including Yanez, Old Town Front Street, Jefferson Avenue, Delray Road, Chandler Drive, Suzie Lane, Shree Road, Skyline Drive, Leifer Road, Nicholas Road, Pachanga Parkway, Red Hawk Parkway, and Temecula Parkway on-ramp. Is that a fair statement?
That's correct.
Okay. So I appreciate the speakers coming, and then we'll go ahead and take the consent calendar now, in which we'll include that item. Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
There may be some city council reports, I believe.
Thank you. All right. Are there city council reports? Get in the queue. Mr. Swank.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Director Joel. Okay, so last Friday, I was proud and honored to attend the CPRS Awards banquet. And CPRS is the California Park and Rec Society. It's a statewide organization that recognizes excellence in what we do. So I was able to come back with not one, two, oh, there's three.
Woohoo!
3 awards of excellence. This is really, this is a testament to the hard work and dedication of city staff. It just truly is. So we won, one of the awards is for the Summer Fall 2018 Activity Guide, which everyone loves the guide, the little coffee table book that every family has, and there's a ton of activities in there, so huge kudos there. Around and about Temecula. I see guys here in the audience. So we won one for Around and About Temecula, and then the Global Citizens Viticulture and Horticultural Program. That was the third one. It was just a great experience. It taught me a lot. We are definitely a leader in our state. A lot of folks look to us and see what we do. I'm under the understanding that there's going to be a formal presentation where CPRS is going to come down and do a formal presentation. But I wanted to take the opportunity to recognize staff. So really quickly, Bea Barnett, Jeff Lawrence, and Mike Morey for Roundabout Temecula. They do a fantastic job with that program. Yeah. Tracy Masters and Cassandra Hargett with the activity guide just do a fantastic job with that guide. And then Yvette Martinez and Cody House with Global Citizens Viticulture and Horticulture Program. So huge kudos to them. And then you've got Charles Walker and Erica Russo who just sort of tie everything together for the city and just do a fantastic job. So those are a lot of the folks that are involved in that. So I will hand these off to our directors and they will proudly display them here at City Hall. And then one more quick item. I had an opportunity yesterday to meet with Commissioner Audie and our city manager and Director Hawkins, and we talked about, and this is something I brought up in the past, we talked about an open streets event in our city, and these events happen all over the world and here in the States and here in California. With the blessing of the council, I'd really like to be able to work with the city manager to sort of try to look at the feasibility and see if this is something that we could bring here. So if that's something that everyone's okay with, I'd like to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Go ahead and do that.
Great, thank you, thank you.
Any other council comments? Mr. Ron, Dr. Ron.
Well, so wanted to first start by apologizing for missing last meeting, but had an excellent opportunity to meet with our representatives and the Department of Transportation in Washington, D.C. As you know, we've got a grant in to see if we can't get the French Valley Parkway and the interchange there completed, or at least phase 2. Excellent opportunity to meet with both our senators for California and our representative in Congressman Calvert's office. And I have to say it was a very positive interaction as well with the Department of Transportation. As you know, we've been working for quite a while now trying to get some traction on, the issues happening in the I-15 corridor, especially through our community. And it is a high priority for us. And arguably, I think the folks in transportation who are reviewing these applications agreed that you'd be hard-pressed to find another story like the one we have to tell on our transportation corridor, and have both the local, regional, and even national impact. And so hopefully they understood the priority. Hopefully we'll be funded this year, and we can be under construction on some pretty significant improvements in the freeway system. So appreciate all the hard work that Public Works did on getting the grant in, and then of course Betsy Lowry in the city manager's office for making sure I said the right things while I was there. So anyway, so hopefully we'll be back later this year to continue advocacy.
Thank you. And Dr. Ron, I want to thank you for your lobbying efforts in Washington, D.C. No small task to go back east and take care of that on behalf of the city. Are there any other city council reports? Go ahead.
I'll just say I was in China on Tuesday, today, at 3:45. I took off from Beijing, and I got here at 2 o'clock on Tuesday again. So I've just relived the same day twice. It's a Groundhog Day for me right now.
You got it. You've got a time moment.
I do have a time moment.
And you look a day younger.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. There you go. No more council reports. We're going to move into the consent calendar. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine. And because they're routine, they will be enacted by one roll call vote. There'll be no discussion of these items unless members of the city council request specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. And of course, we receive comment on item 16. Number 1, waive reading of standard ordinances and resolutions. 2, approve the action minutes of March 12, 2019. 3, approve the list of demands. 4, receive report regarding status of upcoming vacancies on boards and commissions. 5, approve the sponsorship agreement with JDS Creative Academy for the 2019 Digifest Temecula. This is at the request of Mayor Pro Tem Stewart and Council Member Edwards. 6, approve the sponsorship agreement with Reality Rally, Inc. for the 2019 Reality Rally at the request of Mayor Pro Tem Stewart and Council Member Edwards. 7, approve the sponsorship agreement with Temecula Education Foundation for the 2019 Taste of Temecula Valley at the request of Mayor Pro Tem Stewart and Council Member Edwards. Mr. Caton, always appreciate the work you do on that event. Acknowledge your presence. 8, approve purchase and installation agreement with Western Auto Visual for the replacement of video cameras and related audiovisual equipment in the Temecula City Council chambers. 9, approve the disposition and development agreement between the City of Temecula and Alatra LLC for the disposition of city-owned property located on the corner of Rancho California Road and Diaz Road and a portion of Diaz Road in the City of Temecula. That assessor's parcel number is 951-021-089. Number 10 on the consent calendar, receive and file the update on the housing element annual progress report to the California Department of Housing and Community Development for the reporting period of January 1st, 2018 to December 31st, 2018. Number 11, approve a sponsorship agreement with Trauma Intervention Program of Southwest Riverside County, Inc. for Traumatic Incident Citizen Report. 12, accept withdrawal of bid, approve an appropriation, and award a construction contract for the library parking Phase 2. This is Public Works Project 13-09. 13, approve the agreement for consultant services with Michael Baker International, Inc. for the I-15 SR 79 South interchange enhanced landscaping. That's going to look beautiful. Public Works 17-19. 14, approve the agreement with North County Ford for the purchase of one 2019 Ford Transit XL cargo van. 15, approve the design, fabrication, exhibit components, purchase, and installation agreement with Creative Mad Systems, who does business as Mad Systems, Inc., for the Children's Museum Enhancement Project. 16, adopt a resolution finding that an emergency continues to exist within the meaning of Public Contract Code, Section 22050. And for you young people in the audience, you can see it's a long list. That's why we take one vote for all of these things, or we'd be here till 2 in the morning. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Was there any comment before we vote? All right, please cast your vote. And somebody needs to second.
I did.
I don't know if it took.
I keep doing it.
Actually, Councilmember Edwards, if you can go ahead and move.
There you go.
Okay. And try it again, Stu.
I did.
Motion is dead, so I'm trying to second.
I'm trying to
It's
second.
probably because I hit it first.
I'll go ahead and take care of it. Hold on just a second.
There you
But
go.
I withdrew it to let Marion do it.
Okay, there we go, Mary Ann. Hit your motion.
There you go.
Stu, hit your second.
Ah, there we go.
Okay, and I'll vote myself, and looks like we're all done there. That passes 5-0 with everybody present. The city council sits over several boards and commissions, so at this time, I'm gonna recess the city council meeting, turn the gavel over to Mayor Pro Tem Stewart as the president of the Community Services District.
So I will call to order the Temecula Community Service District. Madam Clerk, please note everybody is here. Do we have any public comments? No. So we have the consent calendar, and the consent calendar is item number 17, approve the action minutes of April 12th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote. Shoot.
Somebody keeps hitting the motion.
I accidentally
first.
hit the second.
It's just buttons, you guys.
I know.
So who seconds?
Was it me this time?
Okay, I made the motion.
Okay.
I'm pushing the button. There we go.
All right, do we have a director's report?
Yes, welcome back, Mr. President.
Thank you.
We're down to our final 3 performances of the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee on March 29th and 30th. We heard them and saw them earlier, and very excellent. I bring this up for a couple of reasons. First, this is a new Temecula Presents student-led arts education internship production with a focus on talented teens from the Temecula area. performing on stage and working behind the scenes. And secondly, although tickets are currently on sale, we were blessed by a donor asking to remain anonymous, who allowed for the purchase of 33 tickets for students to experience the opening matinee show for free. I just happen to know that that donor is sitting at the dais today, and just wanted to express my thanks and gratitude on behalf of the Community Services Department for your generous gift. Yes, yes. And that concludes my report.
All right. Manager's report. General manager.
Nothing further tonight,
Nothing?
Mr. President.
All right. Board of Directors report. Yes, Mr.
Just a quick one. Mr. City Manager, what's the name of I'm drawing a blank on Christine Damko's presentation every week around, go ahead.
Good news of the week.
Good news of the week.
Now, you know, I don't know that there's a place for her to win an award. I know Jeff Lawrence won an award because he did a rounded about Temecula, and it falls under Park and Recreation. And it's too bad Christine just left, because I would have wanted to hear it. You know, she does an excellent job, and I wish there was an organization where we can submit or at least have that nominated, because it's just as quality.
There actually is, and I have no doubt that will be an award-winning production with CAPIO, which is the California Public Information Officers Association, and her efforts on the I-1579 outreach are already under consideration for an award. But good news of the day, of the week, is going to be a candidate in the near future as well.
Would you, I'm sure you will, but keep the council apprised. Sure. Thank you very
Will
much.
do, thank you.
And I think she just needed an honorable mention under those circumstances. Thanks.
All right, so I will adjourn the Temecula Community Service District until Tuesday, April 19th.
All right, we're going to reconvene the Temecula City Council. We're all back with different hats, and we're going to go to the business section of the agenda tonight. Number 18, receive and file an update on existing Uptown Temecula specific plan, new streets in lieu fee. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you. Before the council tonight is the Uptown Temecula New Streets in Lieu Fee Nexus Study Update. Just for some background, the Uptown Temecula specific plan was adopted back in November of 2015. One of the key components of that was during the visioning, the community identified the importance of improving transportation, including walking, biking, and transit throughout the specific plan area. The community also identified the need to add additional internal street connections, which would allow it to realize the future urban intensification of the area. So because of that, new internal streets were added to the plan to enhance connectivity, traffic flow, as well as to create pedestrian-friendly and walkable neighborhoods. And if you look to the right, you can see the green and dark gray area represent the area of the specific plan, and the white lines represent the current existing street network. And this fee is intended to facilitate the construction of streets that would lead to what we would consider a more urban grid pattern of streets network. So with the identification of new streets in the specific plan area, a mechanism was needed in order to assist in the funding. So the council in December of 2015 adopted ordinance 15-14 and resolution 15-73, which established the Uptown Temecula specific plan new streets in lieu fee program. Since the adoption of the in lieu fee, staff has identified certain land uses that require special classification considerations. In order to incorporate those special classifications or to break them out from the broader categories, we have engaged Kaiser Marson Associates, Paul Morrow, who's here with us tonight, to update the new in lieu fee nexus study with a goal of recognizing the expanded uses as well as to establish new fee amounts for all the new use categories. The current fee categories are what you see here. They're very broad: residential, office, commercial, retail, and hotel. The proposal is to go a little bit more fine grain and add industrial, mini storage, parking lot, and parking structure. One important point to just point out from the origins of this study, the Nexus study actually represented a full burden fee of anywhere between 2.4% to 6.5% of development costs. The council, along with Kaiser Marson, both agreed that that should be reduced to no more than 3% as to not be an undue burden on potential feasibility of future projects. So here you can see the current fee structure under the 4 categories: residential, office, commercial, and hotel, with their corresponding fees, which only represent no more than 3% of development costs. With the expanded proposed structure, which includes industrial, mini storage, parking lot, and parking structure, you have 7 categories, and since the burden of the street network is spread out over more categories, a side benefit of this strategy is that the existing categories actually see a reduction in the per unit or per square foot fee that they would be responsible for. The timeline for this process is, of course, we're here tonight. This is a receive and file for tonight, but it's a requirement to hold this public meeting, and with the second meeting being the public hearing, which we have tentatively scheduled for April 23rd, which is when the council would actually consider an ordinance. Staff has been working with the City Council Uptown Temecula Specific Plan Ad Hoc Subcommittee, which is made up of Mayor Nagar and Councilmember Ron. And with that, staff recommends that the City Council receive and file this presentation and direct staff to return to the City Council with a draft in lieu fee amendment ordinance for consideration at a later date. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. At this time, any questions of staff? Questions? I don't see any. Madam City Clerk, do we have any requests to speak? So we'll go to council discussion. Any discussion? I don't see any discussion. I just will add one other comment. So, Mr. Watson, this will enable somebody to come and build in the area without the burden of having to put in the whole street. They can pay their fee in lieu, and this is designed to jumpstart things. Is that the idea?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, beautiful, and of course, that's very pertinent. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I think it's a great tool, and I will make the motion.
Actually, this is a receive and
Oh,
file.
receive
no
and
action.
file. Thank you very much. What would we do without you, Madam City Clerk? All righty. So we will receive it. We will file it. Madam City Clerk, will you file it personally? Okay, all right, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Okay. All righty, let's recess for the time being, the Temecula City Council, and convene a joint meeting of the Temecula City Council and the Community Services Commission. How shall we proceed? Mr. City Manager, what's your pleasure?
I think I'll allow Director Hawkins to tee this up for Chairperson Willis, and we'll go from there.
You got it.
All right.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, for the past 2 years as Chair, Councilmember Schwenk actually provided this much anticipated presentation. And now with the new set of commissioners led by Chairperson Willis, we're excited to share how Community Services helps to create and demonstrate our love for the community through people, parks, and programs. So with that, Chairperson Willis.
Chairman Willis, always a pleasure.
I'd run, but I'm too old for that. I didn't hear anybody disagree with me, so I guess I'm right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, city staff, and all of you citizens. Hey, so it is spring break. However, they're not here because it's spring break. They heard I was speaking, so they just didn't come. You know what I mean? They're just not here. Plus, they all heard us the other night. There was 350 people there.
Amazing.
How awesome was that?
Yes.
I'm here to present to you the joint meeting. However, I know I'm not going to do as well as Zach did, so we're just going to do the best we can without you. All right, I'm pleased to introduce the commission. Gary would like to speak on one of the items today, so we're going to hear from him later, but Gary Oddie, Commissioner, Dale Borgeson, and Adam Ruiz. Eric Levine is out on business tonight, couldn't attend, but he sends his regards. Okay, so there you see us on a picture, because Kevin likes taking pictures, and there we are, the fun committee. Commission. commission. All right, advancing, promoting, and advocating excellence, participation, and inclusion for our community. I know Bea created that for us and this amazing PowerPoint, but how perfect is that, right? So there's a list of all the departments that community services is made up of, but go back to that one more time, Bea, if you don't mind. All of those are worked, created, completed, succeeded with 25 to 30 full-time employees. That's pretty amazing. During some seasons at our max, at their max, I hate their, 150 part-time or contract employees. So again, 25 to 30, pretty light for what that looks like, but still produce a phenomenal top-notch outcome, so that's pretty cool. All right, moving on to our ACE team, Arts, Culture, and Entertainment. I'm just gonna highlight a few of these, like the gentleman who spoke first. I think you could read through that yourself, and that would be quite boring, and I don't intend it to be that too much. Huge cultural impact, 33,000 people. Big award, Helen Putnam Award of Excellence. We continue to offer new free cultural amenities and events for the community, and it is the 6th anniversary, 6 years. Art off the walls, every first Friday, and continued consistent attendance there. Moving on to aquatics, led by Gwen and her team. 134,000 patrons served, 4,000 swim lessons. Here's the kicker. We turned away an equal amount of swim lessons, so we need an Olympic size pool. I got that one right, Olympic size. I get points for that one, right? Okay, cool. All right. Moving on to the CRC. The CRC, also Gwen and her team run this, just celebrated the 25th anniversary of the CRC. And it's perfect timing because we're upgrading the pool and major renovation there, and we're currently resurfacing the gym floor. So I was just there for the pre-party for the lighted up yellow and blue. We served 250 people in that room on the side, and that was really cool. We had pizzas donated by Uncle Bob's Sports Bar and Stadium Pizza. That was pretty nice. Okay, and we streamlined the facility rental program. So you'll see a couple things here throughout this that we're trying to make things easier for the citizens. I think that's awesome. Okay, community relations. Jeff Lawrence, our local celebrity, and Mike Morey, our amazing tech videographer. What other word can I use? Amazing person. 25,000 video views on, that's just the first 11, which were amazing. The 13th episode just was released. I was in that one, so if you want to go see that. I was more gregarious than I am right now, but it was pretty cool. One shoot, by the way, we did not take multiple shoot, one shoot. Okay. 21 TCSD produced promotional videos, 2 short clips. They were viewed over 15,000 times. So we're getting some really good visibility out there in social media. And of course, as already mentioned, multiple awards at CPRS bottom in the corner. We already saw it, which is pretty cool. Thanks, Zach, for bringing that. That looks pretty cool. Nice to be recognized. Okay, contract classes. This is an amazing one. Again, another CPRS award winner. 2,000 classes, 13,000 participants. And here's the big one for me, being a finance guy, $1 million in gross revenue. Pretty amazing. The activity guide is absolutely top of the line, as we all know. And again, new software for registration and management, effort to make it more friendly and streamlined for the citizens. So that's pretty good too. All right, my favorite, inclusive services. The Community Services Department, this is my words, succeeds in including all of our citizens. Doesn't matter old, young, in between. A couple highlights. 350 people, as I said, came to our first inaugural Lighted Up Yellow and Blue. That was pretty exciting for us members of the Down syndrome community. And Lighted Up Blue is right around the corner. So that should be pretty good too, of course. And this is our 4th annual Light Up Blue?
Not certain, maybe more.
3rd or 4th, 5th, yeah, so that's pretty nice. That's good. Yeah, I love that we recognize those citizens. It's pretty amazing. I also read on here, YAC is up 50% in team participation. I think that's amazing. That's a great service we do to develop our next leaders. Summer food service program, I want to highlight that, provided over 1,500 lunches for young students over the summer. That's a 30% increase, so that was pretty good. All right, moving on to our library. This is Rosie and her team. I think we all know about the library. What amazing library we have. But just a couple highlights, almost 400,000 patrons visited. That to me is a mind-boggling number when we have 110, 115,000 in the city. That's 4 times. That's pretty crazy. 6,127 new, not existing, new library cards, and over 3,300 youth participated. Is that right? In summer reading program. 3,300 youth participated in a 6-week summer reading program. That seems like a high number. That's amazing, right? 13th anniversary coming in December for the #1 library in Riverside County, according to Eric Willis, and others, I'm sure. Homeless and Veterans Outreach. So in June 2018 was a grand opening of the Help Center. If you haven't had a chance to go down there, it's pretty amazing. Robin and her team, staff, and the hot team are absolutely amazing. The coffee with the hot team has been amazing. I'll tell you a quick story. So Uncle Bob is a friend of mine, and he had mentioned to me that there was a problem where he had an issue. His people were afraid of going out back to take the trash out down on 79 South. And so I mentioned it to Robin. And he said one day he's standing in the bar, and here come these what looked like SWAT guys, fully dressed, ready to roll into his place. And he was scared. He's like, what did I do, right? It was the hot team coming to ask what was wrong, because Robin heard from me, and Robin went down there too, just to see. That amazing touch just lit him up as far as how amazing we are as a city to be that responsive to his concerns as one single business owner. So that was really amazing. Also, one more story. I personally got involved with a family about 3 months ago that had become recently homeless. The child was in Miles's class. And I can tell you that I learned firsthand how difficult this situation is, this problem, because it's individual in nature. Every story is different. And there's so many moving parts that it's very, very difficult. I don't want to say impossible, very, very difficult to put it all together. But I can tell you this for sure. We have an amazing team who's making an amazing positive impact in Robin and her team, and the hot team with the police department and staff, all working together to make a difference, whatever that looks like, as best we can, right? As we work through a very difficult situation. Moving on to senior services. It is the 26th anniversary of the Mary Phillips Senior Center. Yvette and her team down there do an amazing job. I also want to highlight something based on what happened already in this meeting twice. We do have an intergenerational tech program that you guys, maybe they can teach you how to push the buttons for, I'm just saying, I don't know. Just happened to happen, and it was right in my, I even wrote that, no, anyway, okay.
When's your term up, Mr. Willis?
You know what, though? If I didn't say that, it wouldn't be me. You
No,
know what I
that's
mean? That's
right.
why you have me
I'm
around.
just messing
Okay, that's
with
why
you.
you have me
Go
around.
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so back to this. Staff-led October enrichment and recreational program. I thought it was pretty cool. Get the seniors out, and if they want to, and you can see their Old Town Walking Club, senior crafters, stationary cycling, senior team building. Amazing. Again, doesn't matter who you are, we support you if you're a citizen of our city, and that's amazing as you see that throughout all these slides. Okay, sister cities, Tracy Frick and Katrina. You see them in that picture. I'm not going to say the names of the cities, but we're celebrating 25 years with both cities this past year and this current year. That's awesome. I've had the opportunity to visit with the students that come from both the cities, and it's just amazing to see them and how they just are overwhelmed by being in the United States, and the way we take care of them in Temecula is just, of course, top of the line, and great efforts by staff to unite these visitors and show them our amazing community. Moving on to special events, I am confident that I could take the whole night to talk about everything that is Dawntastic. However, I will just tell you that we don't have a team, or we have the team on special events of any city in this state, led by Dawn and all of her amazing staff, the three I think she has. But what they do is unbelievable. because when we have an event, it's not just them that are here, everybody, it's all hands on deck. And so you see everybody from community services jumping on board to make the Rod Run, the special games, the 2 parades, the 4th of July, and the Grape Drop happen every year, along with all the other things you see up there. And the amazing part is we add more every single year. And matter of fact, Dawn was there the other night, and she says, we're going to get involved and make this even bigger next year. So amazing. She's got a list. Her team has a list of things on her plate, and she just said, bring on more. So amazing what they do. Gary, you want to go through this one?
Mr. Mayor, Council, staff, thank you, Chair Willis. I just wanted to take the opportunity on this slide to kind of bring together one of the city's visions and priorities, great quality of life, healthy community. We all know that the happiest communities are those that move. And in this particular slide, you can see a lot of the great accomplishments we've had on special projects, but one that we are looking forward to working with other departments on is the Hike Bike Temecula, and continue to give our input and vision from community services to do what we can to continue the master plan for trails in our community. One of my dreams would be to be able to get on my bike, have breakfast in Old Town, and end up over on at Vale Ranch for lunch without having any high stress and dealing with traffic. And I think we're starting to do some things with our trails to get to that. So my part this evening, and Chair Willis has given me this opportunity to come up and make the emphasis on continuing to look at that healthy lifestyle, good quality of life, and keep our community moving. And you can see we've done a lot of those things that Chair Willis has talked about already, but I just wanted to highlight that on this particular slide. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then on top of that, real quick, I'm just going to talk about harvest and lake fishing. So this was a really cool example of us getting involved because you guys asked us to, and making it happen in a very quick period of time. Staff was phenomenal, but as well, of course. But staff received the feedback from the community, brought it to the commission. Staff offered a way to allow it. Came back to the commission, and then it went to the council. And the council approved it 6 to 7 months, and we turned this around. That is like super fast. Probably not as the community, but as we know in government, really, really fast. So an amazing job, and I love the way government worked there. If we could send that example to Washington, that'd be great. Maybe next time you go, you can show them how to do that. Sorry, I digress. Sports, James Wilcox and his team. 50 tournaments at Birdsall. Now, hold on a second. They only run on the weekends. There are 52 weeks in the year. That's darn near one every week. Pretty amazing. That is well utilized, and I believe it says here every available weekend, so that's pretty amazing. 2 are just not available for use, 50. And I think it said 12 years straight, just so you can. Adult basketball league started. Here's another example. We worked with the Recognized League to ensure that basketball was made available for our special needs community this year. That was brought to our attention, and we made sure that happened. I just have one ask here. If you could look at that picture real quick, you can notice that on those infields, there is no grass. We need grass on those infields. Okay. Sorry, we do. But we'll get it. Okay, moving on to slide 14. Temecula Valley Theater at the Merc. 60,000, or Temecula Valley Theater and the Merc, 60,847 patrons, an amazing number. And here's another amazing number. 366 performances. Now, I'm only a mathematician, but it doesn't take one to tell you that 365 days of the year, 366 performances, I think we're doing something right there. That's pretty amazing. So awesome job to Bea and her team. Also want to highlight 4,445 volunteer hours by 311 volunteers. It's pretty cool. Everybody's involved. Bea and her team are second to none. All right, Temecula Valley Museum. Year-round impact is pretty cool. It's all year long. 24,365 people. That's a huge number. Through exhibits, programs, summer camp, and field trips and more. One highlight, we hosted the Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist Steve Breen. It was a big hit. So great job, Tracy and her team. Okay, finally, we are looking forward to the completion of a new community services master plan. City has grown in area and certainly in population since the last one was done. We look forward to the vision it provides for the future. I know it's coming up for anticipated City Council approval in the spring, so we look forward to that and to see what that brings us. In closing, this department is top-notch. It is fantastic and has no competition. So 3 awards is great, but really they deserve many, many, many more because they really do a phenomenal job in supporting us, in supporting you guys, and most importantly, supporting the community. They complete all of this in a day's work. That means 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours, not a normal 8-hour day, especially when big events are here. I mean, it's all hands on deck. So we try to thank them as often as we can in the commission because they do a great job. We're grateful for these efforts, and the community is constantly rewarded through their success. There's a quick video for you, and we thank you for having us.
Thank you. That's an awesome video. Thank you for your presentation. Mayor Pro Tem Stewart, you're president of Community Service District. Anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm still getting used to the idea that I'm that, but yeah, you guys do an awesome job. You make us look good, so thank you very much.
Councilmember Swank, anything you'd like to add?
I just think I'd like to convey just how important it is that community services is to the community. I mean, if you think if you omitted everything you just said, what would we be, right? Like, it's pretty powerful what community services does, so just a big thank you.
Councilmember Ron, anything you'd like to say?
No, just a welcome to the 2 new guys on the board. We appreciate all your hard work for the last year for the other members, but look forward to seeing some great things from you guys. So, welcome aboard.
Councilmember Edwards?
I'd say that community services really are the heart and soul of Temecula. They are what bring families together, what bring friends together in beautiful surroundings in a safe environment to do a myriad of things. And I think we're very blessed to be able to provide that for residents who are very generous and take advantage of everything that Temecula has to offer. So thank you all very much. And thank you, staff. It's an amazing array of achievement on behalf of all the residents of Temecula. So thanks.
Thank you. I'm just curious, either Mr. City Manager or Jennifer Hennessy, how much does the city supplement with our general fund over and above what we collect for park fees and Measure C? Do you recall? I know you know every bit of the budget by heart. Just
yeah, and in a quick answer to that is the community services operations is completely funded between Measure C and Measure S.
And you know, that's where I was going. I was going to bring that up because Measure S passed, we can continue to do these things in the advent of having to have made a decision between these things and maintaining our public safety. And that would have been a very lousy decision to have to make, but our citizens stepped up to the plate, and what you folks are able to do, what you've done so long, Councilmember Swank, as part of that commission, has enabled us to continue. And boy, you know, you continue to amaze me with some of the things that you say, because you're right. Without these things, who are we? We're just another bedroom community without a heart or a soul or anything, but we're so much different. I'll close with this. You guys play such an important part into the soul of who we are as Temeculans, and keeping that going for the next generation. So I want to encourage you, and I'm sure my council colleagues encourage you to just keep it up and give it all you got, like you're already doing. And I know for you, Gary, and for you, Adam, I know the type of character you have. I know you guys you've already dove in, both of you, amazingly, you know, in just a few weeks or a couple of months you guys have been there. Mr. Hawkins, is there anything we should add? Mr. Willis, is there anything we should add before we adjourn this joint meeting?
The only thing I forgot when I was up there is I mentioned all the great team leaders of all this, and I failed to mention the leader of all of them. You can't have a team without a leader, and Kevin is that leader. So I would be remiss if I didn't give mad props to the leader of Community Services, Kevin Hawkins.
Amen. And that too takes a special heart, which that man possesses. There's no doubt about it. Okay, I'm going to recess this joint meeting of the Temecula City Council and the Community Services District meeting, and I'm going to reconvene the Temecula City Council meeting. Let's see what we have here. Let me just look through my agenda. Let's see. Fire Department. Do you have a report for us? Or is that just a...
These are just receiving file.
Got it.
I think you have commission reports next, Mr.
That's
Mayor.
it, thank you. It throws me off every time, but thank you. In fact, let's sort of, can you make a note of that in the future? Because it's just a little confusing, okay? Thanks. We'll go to the remaining commissioners. Mr. Solomon, traffic safety?
Yes, we have a report. We have a meeting coming up Thursday, the 28th at 6 p.m. in these chambers, and we're going to be looking at traffic calming on Delray Road, including the intersections of Calle Pina Colada, Avenida Buena Suerte, Avenida Centenaro, Via Norte, Avenida del Reposo. So we invite the public. This affects and impacts a lot of residents and traffic, and we look for your input.
Thank you. Is there anything else? Commissioner Watts, Planning Commission.
Sure. With last week's meeting, we had 5 items, which was exciting. We don't usually get that many. One of the things we approved was redevelopment or remodeling of the building. I forget the name. Mr. Watson can probably name it off the top of his head, but
we refer to it as the Raycon building.
The Raycon building. Anyhow, Roses west to, or north to 4th Street. That will all be, they've already started on it. So that's gonna continue to just improve Old Town and its appearance. So that's fantastic. We were all pretty enthused about their plans. We also passed 2 resolutions to recommend to the council on municipal code changes that are going to be coming to you soon. One had to do with just residential standards and things of that nature, fencing. And the other one was streetscape and other modifications to the Uptown Temecula specific plan. That's my report.
Thank you. How about, do we have a public safety report?
Mr. Mayor, city council members, sitting in for Chief McConnell. These are just the stats, or the end stats for February for the Temecula Police Department. We had a total of 5,722 file numbers. That includes call for service as well as traffic-related files. 768 traffic citations were issued. We had 74 traffic accidents. Those include anything from minor damage to major injury. Total of 29 DUI arrests. Our commercial enforcement issued 59 traffic citations as well. Quality of life issue calls, we had 78 calls for service-related panhandling, primarily to our homeless issue out here, and 13 outreach files were pulled for our outreach efforts for the homeless.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that report. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, just kind of piggybacking on what the lieutenant was sharing, several of our frontline deputies and Temecula's finest will be recognized by the Riverside County Sheriff next month, I believe, in the annual award ceremony, and Robin Gilliland is also among those that's going to be recognized as part of her involvement with the HOT team that was mentioned earlier tonight. So extending the invite to the mayor and city council and staff, I think that's pretty fantastic as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Attorney General.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor and members of the council, tonight in closed session, in the case of Biting Baker versus City of Temecula, the council approved a settlement of that case in the amount of $22,500 by a 5-0 vote. And then I also want to announce that on March the 12th, in the case of Kraus versus City of Temecula, the council approved a settlement there in the amount of $27,500 with a 4-0 vote, with Mayor Ron absent from that meeting. And we announced it tonight because it took a while to get the plaintiffs to concur in that settlement. So that's why we're announcing it tonight.
Okay.
That's all.
Well, if none of my colleagues have anything further, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move approval.
That was Councilmember Edwards, Mayor Pro Tem Stewart. We stand, all in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned.